Hello and welcome to the Oklahoma Venture Forum podcast. We have a special edition of the podcast today. We're catching up with previous OVF award winners. Today we're talking to Dr. Craig Shimasaki from Moleculara Labs. Thank you for being on the podcast today. Tell everyone quickly a little bit of your background and what Moleculara Labs does.
Yeah, great. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm a scientist and business person. Worked about 35 years in the biotech industry. Started at Genentech back in 1983. They had no child labor laws back then, so I'm really not
very young, very young man.
Yeah, very young man. In science and medicine, Moleculara Labs is a precision medicine company, and we have a clinical diagnostic laboratory as well as research and development. And we evaluate patients who have autoimmune neuropsychiatric disorders, particularly in children and adults. And typically they're resistant to many of different types of medications, only to find that it's an infection-triggered autoimmune condition that when diagnosed and treated properly, they actually get remarkably well. Very
good. When was that company formed? When was it launched?
So I founded Moleculara Labs back in 2011 and just set up the company based on the technology from my co-founder, Dr. Madeline Cunningham at the University of Oklahoma Health Science Center. And since then, we have grown and continually grown and tested now over 15,000 patients worldwide.
Wow. Now, you also, along the way, have won many, many awards, but one of the awards you won ultimately was the Venture of the Year in 2016 from the Oklahoma Venture Forum. Previous to that, you were named Most Promising New Venture previous to that. So you have been awarded a couple of times from OVF. But let's go back to 2016 and tell us where the company was then and what winning that award, the Venture of the Year, that recognition did to benefit Moleculara Labs.
Yeah, that was quite a while ago. And time passes, very quickly. But back then, we were still a very, very small company. We're not very big right now either, but we only had maybe about 2 years began testing patients, very small staff, and actually we're operating leasing space and people out of the university just to be able to get the company started, and a few investors who were parents of children who got well. And so at that time, we were embarking on this area of both testing and some research based on these children who were developing obsessive compulsive disorders after getting a strep infection. And so the company since then has grown to now, as I mentioned, over 15,000 patients we've tested in over 50 different countries. We now have over 2,300 doctors who've placed orders, over about 80 institutional accounts. We've had 2 patents issued since then, raised about $8.5 million since then in investment capital. So a lot has happened since then.
Amazing. Winning an award, receiving recognition, and the publicity that comes with it in 2016 is always beneficial to a company that is starting down that path of success, right?
Absolutely. External validation has a way of helping in at least the perception in the public. We definitely are doing something that we feel is noble and worthy in the sense that we're getting people well who've been sick sometimes for decades, but we don't have any salespeople because, as a small company, it's still something that I need to raise capital for. But because of that recognition and because of those things that people have seen in the public eye, I believe that it has also helped us as we raise capital for investments, opportunities for other partnerships, and the ability to really be seen as somewhat of a validated type of a company.
And that validation obviously goes hand in hand with not only raising capital, but collecting partners, maybe even collaborators, doctors coming on to trust what you're offering them when it comes to their patients, et cetera?
Absolutely. And I think sometimes as entrepreneurs and groups, we don't realize the impact that press and media has in helping to get the recognition, or at least even helping people to feel like there's some kind of external validation of what the company's doing. So an award like that definitely helps in that, and not only it gets the recognition, but it also helps validate what we're doing. It also is that other people see that this has value. and it is meritorious in helping other people, in this case, getting well from chronic diseases.
Now tell us where the company is at today. What amazing things are you achieving right now in 2023?
Yeah, there's a lot been happening, and sometimes it's hard to keep up with everything. As I mentioned, we have currently tested now over 15,000 patients in our clinical laboratory. We have licensed also an additional panel of research technology from Dr. Cunningham's lab for autoimmune cardiovascular diseases. And so we're working on another panel to be able to launch that will identify patients who are infection-triggered autoimmune there. We're also working on a panel for long COVID, which post-COVID is a huge impact on a lot of people.
And obviously something very new.
It is. And this is part of being able to work in the environment and recognize how some of these autoimmune brain antibodies and cardiovascular antibodies are present in patients who have long COVID, and then be able to take that and leverage that. As I mentioned, we've also had 2 patents issued. We're forming a relationship that I don't have yet the liberty to disclose yet because it's still confidential, but some of the largest clinical laboratories in the world, working with them in a way that will help strategically in partnerships, and then other partnerships with other local university affiliates or spin-outs in the area of therapeutics. Wow. Or be able to identify patients.
So big things coming. Can't talk about it yet, but big things are coming. Mm-hmm. Now, you've personally been involved in OVF for quite a while as well. Tell me what drew you to OVF initially, and what kind of things, as an entrepreneur, as a business person yourself, that benefit you've received from being a member and participating in OVF.
Well, OVF is a great institution, and many people may not even be aware of it who live in Oklahoma. But it's one area or one venue where individuals from both the investment side, the service side, but also the entrepreneurial side can come together and hear stories, but also hear pitches, and also get a chance to rub elbows with each other. And it's those relationships that help. I was on the board of OVF for a number of years and enjoyed my time there in doing that, because the goal is to help serve and help create the entrepreneurial ecosystem and that in Oklahoma. And so I'm really looking forward to the continued growth and the expansion of OVF and things like this, and the awards especially, both help the community, but also help those entrepreneurial endeavors in Oklahoma.
Right. And you're also involved in all kinds of things around the entrepreneurial ecosystem, like I2E and other organizations that are also supporting these efforts.
Absolutely. Oklahoma is not like California or Boston.
Which is good. It's good. It's pro and con to that.
There is. Yeah. There's always we've got different benefits and different limitations. But one thing is for sure is that there are good people that want to help each other and help collaborate and do that. And so, yes, this has been something that's been very impactful and helpful.
Since you launched Molecular Labs, and even before that, when you were working in industry, what has changed here in Oklahoma? There's been a lot of conversation about the emphasis on biomedical and things of that nature, is developing them as industries in the state. So what's happening now and maybe the last few years that wasn't happening then, and how are these changes ultimately going to be good for the state of Oklahoma long run?
Yes, and this is exciting time, really, because, as you mentioned, I'm on the board of I2E, and I2E has been one of the results of OCAST and the ability to actually support economic diversity in the state from oil and gas, which is very strong, but looking to how do we create organically grown businesses. And so some of the things that have occurred is I2E now is under management of over $1 billion of companies' value. Yeah. Also in the sense of having the ability to mentor and then be able to guide and shepherd a lot of these early stage companies, the Plains Venture Fund from it, but also the other things such as the Innovation District that is now in place under Katie Boren. And then also what we've seen is the awards of somewhere around 70 to 80 million from the federal government for the Build Back Better program for the bioscience cluster and sector. And so you see a lot of these things that are happening that providing momentum in the context of a bigger picture of the community, building and looking for how do we create an ecosystem that will support entrepreneurial endeavors.
But it didn't happen over to at night. It took a long time and a lot of effort from a lot of partners to make that a reality.
Absolutely. And we'd spend all day just trying to name all of them that are on here that have been a part of it. But it just, again, that community of involvement to be able to bring something about that's better for the entire community. And in this case, the state, irrespective of whether they directly benefit of it or not. And even, you might even see that the Oklahoma City Thunder as a way of helping to, on a national level, show that Oklahoma and Oklahoma City has impactful, creative, and even entrepreneurial type of thinking.
So if a young or new entrepreneur, someone who is considering starting a company or building a business here in Oklahoma, what would be some of your favorite bits of advice that you would give them directly as to how to start, run, and sustain a profitable business in Oklahoma?
Yeah, that's the $20 million question. And certainly the environment of Oklahoma for me, because I've been here now about 30 years. So I came from the San Francisco Bay Area and thought I wouldn't be here very long, but we have found and have stayed here, and my wife and children, the ability to actually be innovative, creative, because innovation is everywhere. It's not limited to the coast. And then have supportive people alongside of you to come to do that. And so that's been something that's been clearly evident over time. And I would say that not only that is when you are in these other ecosystems that are highly competitive, sometimes you don't get heard or you don't get funded.
Sure.
Although there are more funding opportunities there, you may be drowned out. And so in Oklahoma, you have a chance to be able to be heard. And as far as an entrepreneur, there are a lot of supportive systems out there. I also teach as an adjunct professor at the University of Oklahoma in the business school in entrepreneurship. And there is just a growing body of interest in how do we help organically create these businesses in Oklahoma and keep them here. And all the other universities are doing the same.
There you go. Great advice from Dr. Shimasaki, previous award winner, two award winners from Oklahoma Venture Forum, OVF, Most Promising and Venture of the Year, longtime board member, and an absolute stalwart in the ecosystem that we've been talking about, entrepreneurism in Oklahoma. If you want to know who's going to be the winners for 2023 from the Oklahoma Venture Forum, you need to be at the award ceremony. It's Thursday, May 18th, 2023, obviously, from 11 to 1:30 at the Oklahoma History Center. We have some great nominees for the awards this year, a ton of different awards that'll be given out, and you'll want to be there yourself to see the award winners, to network, to meet other people, and to continue this economic and entrepreneurial ecosystem that we've been talking about all day, right? So thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.